All right. Okay. I think we're live. I think we're good. I think we're live. What's good, y'all? This is Jay Boogie in full effect mode. Bun down is the sound. You know how we do. This is, of course, the Lounge Presents, right here streaming on Instagram Live. Obviously, this is the platform that you're on. Today we got a special guest, a welcome guest into the lounge space. Definitely fam. Our boy Elaquent is going to be our guest in the lounge space today. We're going to talk a little bit about his latest release, talk about some mutual interests, squared circle type interests, get into the process of the album and what led to the recording of the album, of course, as soon as he gets up in the lounge space, because he's certainly not in there just yet. But we do have a couple things that we just want to kind of mention just to start things off. First off, this past weekend, it was Nuit Blanche 2022 here in Winnipeg. Just this past weekend, and it was very successful from where I was sitting. I had the immense pleasure of being there for the debut of my son. Most of you who know me know my son, Nathan. He's an artist of his own right, and he premiered the Renaissance of Memory installation at Nuit Blanche this past Saturday. His venue was the fifth floor parkade at the Forks, and it was on from 6 to 12. We were there from 6 to maybe 11:30. And wow, there is nothing that can compare with the feeling that you get as a parent to watch your child, who obviously is no longer a child, but a young man, come into his own, find his own creative lane, come into his own, and be recognized for it. His installation, The Renaissance of Memory, was very potent. I had the distinct pleasure of just standing there. I literally would just stand around and I would catch conversations here and there. Every spot in the parkade that I stood, I caught conversations, and it was obvious that Nate's installation resonated. So to everyone that reached, definitely salute, big up, and of course salute to my boy Nathan. Good job. Big up to Unit Productions, of course. Hazel doing the damn thing. Alicia, of course, expressed a thought. All together, just wow, killer combo, definitely. You can, if you want to find out more about what he's doing, you can always catch him on his Instagram as well, which is online, obviously. Also coming up on October 8th, the Seven Fallen Warriors battle. It's going to be taking place as a part of the Winnipeg Chinatown Night Market, and that is going to be October 8th. The battle is taking place from 7 to 8 p.m. For more info on how to enter that battle, just hit up B-Boy Majo. Y'all know Majo. Hit him up. You can find him here on Instagram as well, and he can get you situated for that. That's the Seven Fallen Warriors battle, October 8th, going down as a part of the Winnipeg Chinatown Night Market. And it looks like our boy Elaquent is up in the lounge space, just in the foyer. So let's let our boy in. All right. He's here. He's coming. He's not coming. He's coming. Hey.
Hey, what's good?
What's good, man? How you feeling?
Good, man. Life's been good.
Yes.
Glad to be back.
That is awesome to hear. Yes, of course. As we told you when we first had you, I mean, it's an open door policy. You know what I mean? We just love to push dope shit, just like we said the last time.
Say word. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, yo, for real. So now we're going to start things off. For those who are familiar, or for those who caught the first Instagram Live we did together, awesome, great. But for everyone who isn't, just for the sake of familiarity, we're going to start things off there. We always start off the Lounge Presents, and that's by asking you how you were first introduced to hip-hop culture.
I attribute all that to my older brother. He's 10 years up on me. So when he was basically in his teenage formative years, I was 5 or 6 or whatever, you know, he'd buy and bring home like tapes. You know, it might be EPMD, it might be Nas, it might be whoever. And you know, that was sort of my first taste of it. Because I mean, I was always kind of, you know, just a little kid trying to, you know, harass and bother my brother all the time.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's sort of where the fascination began, and you know, just kind of kept expanding over time.
No doubt. No, I feel you. I feel you. What kind of music did you grow up around at home? What was being played at home?
Mostly hip hop. So I mean, whenever I'd roll with my pops, or I'd go to visit. Shouts out to Tara, by the way, in the chat. Appreciate that. You know, when I'd roll with my pops or I'd hang out with him, I mean, he used to have a bunch of soul records. So I remember just hearing a lot of Marvin Gaye and, you know, Al Green and shit like that. But really, it was mostly like in the house. It was just mostly whatever my brother was listening to, or my older sister. So steady diet of hip hop and R&B too.
Love it.
But I mean, you know, like I'm from Canada, so much music wasn't really about that hip hop life until much later. So
yeah.
So I mean, I heard all the Smashing Pumpkins and Nirvana and all that shit too. But yeah, mostly hip hop and R&B in the house.
Word. What record would you say really resonated with you first? What was that first record that you're just like, yo, what the fuck? This is mind blowing.
The World Is Yours by Nas.
Okay.
I mean, hell, I mean, there's hella joints that that I could sort of bring up a reference, but that song I remember hearing in 93, 94, whenever the video came out. And I don't know, maybe it was a combination of the black and white visuals of the music video and just the piano sample and
man,
and everything. But I think that was one of the first times I remember I'd certainly listened and I was a fan of the shit prior, but I think that was the first time I remember like really sitting down like, yo, like this shit's beautiful. Like how did they do this? What who is this Pete Rock guy? Why is he important?
Who's Pete Phillips?
Right.
No, true that. I mean, that's a great record to really first connect. One thing that I think about his production is, I mean, shit, it's just timeless as fuck.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what decade you're in, that it still resonates. Tough.
Well, you know, and I think just, you know, hip hop always sort of just had the stigma, certainly in like the 80s and 90s, sort of as like a lesser than art form, so to speak.
Yeah.
And mind you, back in the day, I didn't even know what sampling was. You know, like for all I knew, like, motherfuckers were really playing all those keys. And
they're musical,
right. But you know, that was sort of one of those records, and it was just very melodic and very musical.
Yeah.
This didn't feel like just an excuse for someone to rap on a beat. Like there's some real melody and from the hook and just singing along. Like, it's just a beautiful all around record, and I think that's sort of influenced, you know, kind of just my approach to music early on, at least.
Okay. Were you ever drawn to another aspect of any other part of the culture, whether it's breaking or did you ever want to rap?
Oh, I tried rapping.
Okay.
That experiment didn't go very well.
Okay. Yes, I mean, I feel you.
I've noticed a couple of like the hometown homies that have known me since I was like 6. I know a couple of them have bounced in here, so a couple of them have heard some of the
They're familiar.
they're familiar with a couple of the freestyle bars, but
Okay.
that's
Okay.
a chapter of my life that I hope never ever sort of gets uncovered. But no, I did. Um, I tried rapping, and I've been in some freestyle battles and stuff like that. It's never really good at it. I hate my voice. I hate the way it sounds. I don't like the way I sound on a track. Um, so I don't know. It was kind of something where I was always more interested. And I'm more of a behind the scenes guy anyway.
Yeah.
So I was always focused. I always was more interested in production. My older brother, like, he's nice with the pen. So that sort of just became our thing. Like, he can rap, I can make beats. So DJing is something that I was always interested in, but
Mm-hmm.
this is an era before CDJs. This is an era before Serato.
Right.
This is an era before apps. And I didn't have that type of money to invest in decks. So I kind of just never did. And I'm a big lanky guy. Breakdancing, I didn't have chops for it, and I'm not artistic enough to spray paint. So every aspect of the game I've certainly been interested in at some
Yeah.
point or the other. I just was only ever good at kind of one of them.
Well, I mean, that your story is not that really, it's not really not that unusual. A lot of us walk down the same path as you. You know what I mean? And we all kind of just found our lane when we figured it out, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't want to come across like my story is like unique or anything like that. But when you're young and you're 12, 13, and you're just eager to just be involved in some way, shape, or form, and at the time I talked myself into thinking that that I could easily do all of it. But I was just happy that I found something that I was able to connect with, and shit, 23 years later, I'm still doing it.
Yeah, no doubt. But man, don't downplay yourself like that, man. If you didn't follow the path that you did, we wouldn't be hearing the beautiful shit that you're doing now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And by you sharing that story, other people can now look and say, "Oh, yo, same struggle." And look, if he could do it, so could I. So the
Right.
story is very much important. Very
Oh,
much important.
don't get me wrong. I don't regret anything that's led me up to this moment. Obviously, I wish I was better at some parts of like rapping and shit like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I know how
But
you
but
feel,
but
man.
but I wasn't. I wasn't, and that's okay. And that's okay.
Exactly, exactly. Now, when did you make the decision? I feel like a lot of guys kind of get started by kind of waiting in the shallow end for a little bit by like playing around with other guys' gear a little bit before they get their own gear. Like, how did it start for you?
It's and I've told the story a couple times before, but my older brother was like he was in university, and I begged him, and I think my parents kind of begged him too, to let me just crash with him for the weekend,
Mm.
at his dorm or wherever he was staying, and I did, and it was a lot of fun, and we were just playing a lot of records and so forth. And at the time, um, the record that he was really, really big on, and he was playing a lot, was the Common Like Water for Chocolate joint.
Hey,
Um,
that's a dope joint.
yeah, and so I listened to it, and there's a joint on it called Nag Champa,
Yes.
and that was his joint, man. Like
Ooh.
he wore that bitch out, and
Oh.
I heard that, and again, same sort of feeling as when I heard The World Is Yours joint, but at this point I'm like 13 or 14, something like that. And I'm like, okay, I this is so cool. I have no idea how he made it, but I got to figure this shit out. And I started Googling, or no, I started Yahooing.
Yahoo.
Google wasn't
Ultivisting.
Google wasn't a thing yet. Just how to make beats,
Right.
and I came across two or three just shitty apps, but whatever. I didn't care. I just wanted to be able to put drums to a melody,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just through the just researching and message boards and well, what is this? What is this Fruity Loops?
There you go.
Which at the time was on version it was like I think they were on like one. No, it was version 2. That's when I discovered it.
Mm.
And so it was very basic, and it was just a demo version, so I couldn't actually save anything.
Right.
So I'm making literally just these 5-second beat clips, just like one bar. I didn't even know how to loop it. And beats are trash, but this was my creation. This was the first time, like I thought of how I wanted it to sound, and I did it. Even though I thought it was better than it really was. But yeah, it's just something that I was kind of just doing. I'd get home from school, and I could just watch Dragon Ball Z, or I'd just start making beats. And kind of just kept doing it. I mean, I didn't feel like I was progressing or anything, but it was just kind of just something to do. And then, but again, at the time, I'm thinking, this program is just a toy, unless or until I can save up some money and get that MPC, get that ASR, get real equipment.
Yep.
That was kind of the thing back in like the early 2000s, late 90s. You're not a real producer, or it doesn't count. And so I was kind of just doing that mostly for myself, just for fun. And then I found out about some like a local guy, a few years older. He went to like one of the other high schools in town, and I found out that he used that same program, and his beats were significantly better than mine. Shouts out to the homie GQ Styles. But you kind of just need someone once in a while to sort of just show you that it can be done.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool.
Yep.
Now that I know that this thing is capable and he's sampling, which I didn't even know how to do in it. Okay, now that I know that it can be done, all right, let's go.
Right.
And and I started learning more and more. I'm joining forums, and shouts out to undergroundhiphop.com.
Hey.
Future producers. Peace to Bus Crates up in there. I see you, brother. And so I'm just gradually, I'm getting more hyped, because now like my beats are starting to sound more and more like real beats.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and then eventually I hear that Little Brother album, Listening. And that shit like blew my mind. And similarly, I found out that Ninth did it all on Fruity Loops.
Exactly.
And that just sort of sealed it. Like, okay, now it's not just like okay, well, these beats are pretty good, but there's a ceiling. You can only get so far. And now I know, okay, there really is no limits now. And now I just dived all the way in.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, that record. Oof. What he did on that record, I mean, goddamn, wow.
Yeah, shout out to Ninth, man. I mean,
yes, definitely.
I don't know if he gets the. I mean, everyone loves Ninth and renowned, but I don't know if he gets like the full credit he deserves.
Yeah, I have to agree with you.
As far as helping dispel that notion that making beats on software, and mind you, like everyone makes beats on software nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
But in 2004 or whatever it was
frowned upon.
There's still a lot of this elitist sort of, no, you have to you have to have the MPC,
Yeah, exactly.
or it doesn't count, or you're making the beat on the computer, so whatever made up excuses why
Yeah,
you can't do it. But he at least showed, at least for the hip hop community, that like this shit can be done at a
oh
very,
yeah,
very high level, and you just have to be creative.
exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Well, you said it, man. You've been doing this now for some time, and you have established yourself as a very formidable producer. For real, for real. You got the new record, Long Drives to Nowhere. Now, I'd like you to break down what inspired this record.
Depression, honestly.
Yep.
It's honestly, man, it's kind of a hard record to talk about, which kind of makes doing like a press run for it kind of tough.
Yeah, I can
Um,
imagine.
but the that record sort of came about. I don't know. I guess without getting super duper in depth, but I was not in a very good place, and you kind of over time and having done so many records, you kind of feel like your mortality, like, well, like, do I still got it? Does anyone even really give a shit about what I do? Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm not in a good place, and sort of in that weird funk, in that weird zone where I'm blowing off people, and just want to stay in the crib, like a hermit, not want to see anybody. And in particular, I started working on this record, and I always want to have like an idea or concept or something before I even start it. And this one, like, I knew I wanted to make an album because Urban had asked me if I wanted to do an album, but it's like I didn't know what story to tell. I didn't know how I wanted to even approach it.
Right.
And honestly, I was just on Twitter one day, and my friend of mine had just tweeted that phrase, "Long Drives to Nowhere," and I saw it, and I'm like, "Yo, holy shit! Like that's exactly how I feel right now." Kind of just that feeling of just running in place and just not progressing, and not just like musically, but just in terms of like just life, and not knowing how to sort of find that sort of personal fulfillment. And like I'm making the record. It's harder than it's ever been. And I mean, there's a bunch of problems just in the making of the record. I thought, okay, I'll go on vacation somewhere. Get away from work, get away from just this environment, and shit will make sense then. And so I went to Niagara Falls for a week. Spent a lot of money doing it. It's not cheap out there. And I was kind of having like panic attacks like every day that I was there.
Damn.
Yeah, and it was just weird because it's like, well, this is an area I'm supposed to be happier and more at peace. Like it's vacation, and like I'm out there in my hotel room, with all this neat stuff happening outside. And, like, I don't want to leave, and I'm like, I'm having conversations with some of the homies, and I'm like crying my face off and shit. So, but I had luckily I had a pretty good support system and a friend who sort of convinced me to sort of face some of my problems, maybe go try therapy, like actually do some tangible shit to be happier.
Yeah.
And I think sort of as men, the thought of going to therapy is always a little like, man, I'm weak. I'll look weak if I do that.
Yep.
You're always sort of accustomed to just bottling it up.
Yeah.
And just,
straight up.
And then, and nothing ever gets resolved. And then when it explodes, it explodes. And then, you're no more better for it. So, I tried to sort of apply that and, focus on things that made me happy. And, um, I, I vowed to stop smoking weed, like literally like that day. And that was almost a full calendar year has passed since then. So yeah, still feeling better.
That's dope, man.
Right,
That's
and
dope.
peace to bus crates. Yeah, especially as black men, like that stigma
Yeah.
with therapy and
Yep.
just having healthy ways of sort of expressing what you're going through. That's just something that folks are just like, well, just go to church or just keep it to yourself. And
Or we're just taught to man up.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah. Yeah.
super toxic shit. And
Yeah.
and I admire all of these people and even friends of mine of sort of taking that step and doing it for themselves. But when it came to me, I never really wanted to do it until I felt like, I don't want to say that I hit rock bottom, because I know people who've really hit rock bottom, but that's
Yeah.
just how I felt.
But yeah, no, it's still a very valid statement to make. If it feels like rock bottom, then it's rock bottom.
All right, so
Yeah.
yeah, so back to the record. And like I came back home and sort of just vowed to make all of these changes in my life, and I've managed to stick through it.
Nice.
And more so than anything. And I guess the tricky thing with just the way that I make music and the instrumental medium is that it's mostly just beats, and sometimes it's hard to really convey or tell a story that people can understand and relate to. So I don't know if everybody caught sort of what I like. I mean, most of the story I told you. I don't know if that sort of comes across in the music, but
I think it does. I
but
think
just
it does.
but just on a personal level, like that was a record that I finished, I submitted, and then I didn't want to listen to it for 6 months. Because
Yeah.
it puts me in a place whenever I hear it, and it's like
Yeah.
I didn't even really want to, like, like I get booked to play gigs, and I don't even really want to play songs off of the record, because
Right.
it's like, like I'm glad that I like that you like the beats, or you like NDO singing on it, or so forth. But it's like, no, like this, like that shit really hurt me, like hurt my soul, the process of putting it together.
Yeah.
But sometimes music is just some time capsule shit that I'll go back in 3 years, and then maybe it'll be easier to listen to it again, having
Exactly.
overcome what I had to.
Exactly. And I strongly believe that that's exactly what will happen. There will come a time where you're able to come back to this record, listen to it, and say, okay.
Right? Yeah, and I mean, it's, man, like, I really like everything on there. Like, I've got a song featuring the homie Rugod called "Move On." And
Hmm.
that shit was pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I got a song called "Anxiety," which is pretty
Yeah.
self-explanatory. I got a song called Tiger Stripes," and that shit probably didn't mean anything to anyone, but that was just me in my body dysmorphia phase. You
Mm.
know, what else?
Voices Part 2?
Vices Part Two, exactly. And the funny thing with that was that I did a song on one of my mellow albums, the original Vices, and a friend of mine kept asking me, like, yeah, you need to do another song like similar style, and you need to call it Vices Part Two. And it's like, well, I mean, I maybe if it happens, and and of course, in the process of making it, and I'm sort of addressing the vices in my life, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, here's your song, like, it kicked my ass to do. But, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I could go through the track listing top down and explain what all of them meant, but all of it was sort of on some coming of age, just trying to sort of get myself right.
No, yeah, I feel you. It's one track I wanted to bring up was Anxiety,
Yeah.
because it was titled Anxiety, so I can understand where it was coming from. But for the life of me, and I kept rewinding it to see if I'd start to feel any different, but I didn't feel any. I didn't feel anxious. Like, I didn't feel the anxiety.
Mm.
I didn't feel anxious. Like, if anything, it was like an uplifting joint.
Right, and I'm glad you brought that up, because when I talk to people about the record and I tell them that it was very hard for me emotionally to do and put together, and they're like, well, I mean, it doesn't sound like a depressing record, and that was sort of the point. Um, the whole spirit of it is trying to overcome,
Right.
and I want to do like a hopeful sort of record. I never want to make a song or make music that puts people in a you know a depressive state.
Right.
Like, I there's plenty of songs that I love that I listen to, and then I get emotional because then it transports me to a time where it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember feeling this way about a girl who
Yeah.
did whatever, or oh yeah, this was relatable to something earlier in my life that yada yada yada. Um, and but I want people to sort of be happy. And in general, I don't really do the depression music thing like well to begin with. Everything I aim to do is like very like melodic, and
Oh
I
yeah.
try to do something very symbolic. But I don't want you to I don't want you to be angry or sad at the end of it.
Right.
And I try to put, and at the end of that song, there's a little skit, a clip that I found from a Kevin Garnett interview where he's just talking about happiness and trying to chase it, and that was sort of, I the way that I sort of thought about it is, okay, this is sort of this, you know, anxiety, but towards the end, there's like a light at the end of it, and sort of a goal to chase to be in a to be a happier person or be in a happier state, you know.
Yeah. No, I feel you. How did you decide who you wanted to collaborate with on the record? You do have a small handful of guests. How did you decide who you wanted to have on this?
I mean, I had a list. I had a list of a lot of people. Now, interestingly, this record was the original plan for the record when I first, pitched it to do. It was actually supposed to be a full R&B record.
Oh, for real? Okay. Okay.
Right. I did a rap record for Mellow Music Group in 2020 called Forever is a Pretty Long Time.
Yeah.
And my whole mission was that, okay, this is that record where I collaborate with all my favorites, mostly rappers, on virtually every song, only 2 or 3 instrumentals. And this one was supposed to be the same, but just on
Okay.
the R&B side of things. Now, this record, for a number of reasons, I reached out to a bunch of folks. Some of them just couldn't do it for just timing purposes. Some people agreed to do it, but then couldn't for a number of reasons. Some folks just ghosted. Some folks, kind of switched up midway through the process.
Mm.
But I mean, I had a list probably of like 15 deep of just singers mostly that I wanted to work with.
Right.
But then throughout the end, it's like, okay, it's just like I really want to close the door on this record, and I don't want to have to just keep I don't want to just reach out to someone who I'd be doing just to do it.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, for
okay,
sure.
like the universe is telling me that it's just not meant to be this
Yeah,
go around.
yeah.
And but I did have like the 3 or 4 or 5 people on board, and I'm very very happy that
You should be. Those are
yeah,
excellent choices.
yeah, from the homie Ryan, who just, I mean, he does a lot of like my photos,
Okay.
photography, but he also does killer spoken word, and I just thought, hey, it'd be really cool to get him
Have
on
him
an
bookend
intro.
it.
Yeah, to bookend it
Yeah.
exactly. Um, I, as far as how I work or how I choose to work with folks, as a producer, and I know this might sound really, really pretentious, but as a producer, my the way that I approach most of my records is that I always want to bring someone up with me. So I might beg and plead and talk my label into getting like the 1 or 2 big name features, but what I really want to do is bring up the folks that maybe don't have a following, or people don't know much about, or just folks that I just randomly come across. And I get a big kick out of you know introducing like my fans to these very talented people that some of my fans might not be aware of.
Oh man, I don't think that's pretentious at all.
Well, just the way that's like as a producer, you know.
No,
So
man, you're
like,
just doing the right thing.
right. So like when I did my mellow record, it's like, okay, cool. I got a song with Odyssey. I got a song with Blue. I got a song with Guilty Simpson. Great. Love
Yep.
those guys. Some of my favorite artists. But it's like, come check out the record for those guys. But stay for Brain Orchestra. Stay
Right.
for Saturn Alexander. Stay for Lost Like Alex and Cavalier and everybody else. So with this go around, and there's kind of a trend in music in general where everyone is always just chasing like the big name feature, and I get it. The feature draws,
Hmm.
people are trying to make money, they're trying to get paid, and get their streams and so forth. But like my homegirl Melina, who I've known about and I've wanted to work with forever, and I don't know if she doesn't have maybe the size of the following that I do, but she's fucking dope, and I
Hmm.
believe in her. And if having her on my record raises her profile even a little bit, then that made it worth it to me.
Word up.
And same with Taylor, and Endio's great, and Rugod, who is an outstanding producer and a great bassist. But I don't know if a lot of people knows that he can get down on the vocals too. So that was important to me to bring my friends along.
No, that's dope. And honestly, like I said, man, you're just doing the right thing, straight up and down.
Right, yeah, because I mean, it's like, sure, it's an Elaquent record, and there's, I've got a bunch of instrumentals on it, but it's like it makes me happy when I see Tokyo Sunset might lands on a Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
Like,
Dope
okay,
joint, by the
cool.
way. Dope joint. Woo.
Thank you. But it's like, okay, cool, dope. It's getting some good traction and so forth, but the featuring Manami Otsuka, from Japan, amazing bassist, and I want people to come away from that joint like, yo, like that bass was crazy on that joint.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this person?
Exactly.
Like that means more to me than
Yes.
someone who's like, yo, I really like this solo instrumental. Like, cool, I got a million of them. But yo, like listen to these other 4 songs.
Exactly. Once again, it goes back to something we fully believe in, is to helping to push the dope shit.
Right. And like with like DJs, for instance. And I think people forget that, like the DJ, at least from the era that I grew up in, his or her job is to break new records. That's
Yep.
how, if House Shoes isn't out there breaking Dilla records, um, do people pick up to him the way that they do? Maybe not, but you know, but just it's putting people on.
Yep.
That's something that I've always wanted to do and strive to do, and then I've got other projects and things where I'm hoping to do even more of that. But that's the thing I sort of take away from what I do.
No, that's dope, man. I'd love to see you do something just like that. One thing that I am wondering about.
Shouts out to Cavalier too. I see you, brother.
Hey, who's someone that you would really, really like to work with that you think might be out of reach?
Well, I don't, it's funny you say that, man, because I mean, there's some of the folks that I've reached out to. They're not even like, super big name, crazy, going platinum.
Yeah.
Like those are some of the easy answers, but like
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to just working with people I consider like my peers, and some of them I've reached out, and some of them have like borderline begged to work with, and I don't know, maybe they're not feeling me, maybe they're not feeling the situation, maybe the money's not right. I don't know. But we'll see, and I guess I won't really put some of them on blast in case I do actually work with some of them.
Exactly.
But hell, we talked about like Water for Chocolate. I mean, Common has always been my favorite rapper.
Hey.
So he's a guy that, I mean, certainly I'm not on his radar, but if the stars are to align one day,
you can never say no. It's never say it won't happen. You can never say it won't happen.
And someone in the chat just said Beat Child would be a dope feature. That's yeah, I mean that's a big bro, and
true that would be dope.
We've talked about working, and one
day
we will. One day
there
we
you
will.
go. See, there you go.
But but that's a guy that I've always respected, and the fact that he's Canadian too, certainly bodes well. But Common's a guy. I'd love to work with like someone like Earl Sweatshirt. Big fan of his. There's this guy I just got hip to a few weeks ago called Reginald Hayes Jr.
Okay.
His name.
Okay.
Heard one song from him and was like, yo, I'm trying to figure out how to send brother some beats. Like I've worked with Ivan Ev once before, and I'm dying to do it again.
Okay.
I think that's another one of those, stars haven't aligned
right
to do it again. But yeah, there's plenty of folks. I mean, hell, I'd love to work with Joyce Rice. I'd love to work with
nice.
If Amy Winehouse was still alive,
man,
like, I'd be a pest in her DMs trying to work with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, just anybody who everyone's dope and just sort of on that wavelength. And I mean, there's a lot of people that I haven't worked with, not because of anything they did, but because just I'm not ready, or I just haven't been in that position to do so.
Yep.
So
a lot of it is timing, really.
All about timing.
Yeah.
I have West Side Gun. I'd love to send him a beat.
Hey. I would love to hear that. Damn.
Yeah, just let them boom, 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 booms.
Right?
Shits go off of these Fender Rhodes joints.
All right, I'm going to take that question. I'm going to flip it on you now.
Okay.
What record, if you had the opportunity to redo, would you want to redo in your image, so to speak?
Like a song that I've worked with.
An album, no, a previous album that's already been released, catalog album that's already, been out there for a minute or for a year, what have you. But what record would you personally, if there was a record whose artist approached you, said, "Yo, Elaquent man, I really, this is the 20th anniversary of this record, and I kind of want to do a reimagining of it, and I want you to do it for me." What record would that be?
That's a tough one because, like, so basically, if I could redo someone else's record in my image,
right?
Oh,
they're giving you permission. They're approaching you to do exactly that because they just want a fresh take on the record, so to speak.
See, it's tough to answer that without like almost disrespecting the artist and the album in question.
I hear that.
But it's like, hell, I would love to redo like some old like Eminem records.
Okay.
Like
that would be interesting. I'd like to hear how you did that.
Well, because it's like he's a guy that I loved when I was in my teenage years, and while he's certainly like a great rapper, a fantastic rapper and all, but his production has always been my point of contention with my like overall enjoyment of his music. And
I'll have to agree with you on that. Yeah.
I feel like, I just like fuck it. I don't even have to produce the fucking thing. Like just let me executive produce it. Let me pick the artists, and I feel like I feel like I'd be onto something there. And but otherwise, I mean, one of my favorite albums, sort of coming up was not the Nas Godson album, but the Ninth Wonder remix God's Stepson.
Ah, yes.
He basically took an album which I felt beat-wise was pretty mid, and made that shit very, very listenable. So there's probably a number of Nas albums I'd love to step in and do. Ditto with like, I mean, I'm sure there's a Hove record out there that I just think it would be a lot of fun to do. Just with the way that he raps and just the way that he delivers his bars. Like, well, remember the type of like swingy shit that I do. Like, I just think it would be so much fun.
Yeah, man. Remember when everyone had a heyday with the Black Album acapellas?
Yeah.
Wow, that was like, there was a lot of good shit that people did.
The Kev Brown one was the best one.
Oh my God!
Brown album.
Kev Brown album destroyed. Oh my God!
It wasn't even close. I mean,
destroyed.
Like the ninth album was really good, but I mean, Kev.
He did.
It's too crazy.
Yeah, it was top notch for real. All right, my next question for you.
Okay.
If you were given the opportunity to produce someone's entrance theme music, who would you want to do? You like that segue? You like the segue?
I see what you did there. If I could do someone's entrance music, probably. That's a good one. I mean, I'd love to do. I mean, Swerve Strickland. I feel like he would be a fun one to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, but I love his entrance music as is. And Danny Garcia. That's
okay.
That's the dude.
Okay.
After I seen him walk out to Dr. Bird's, it's like, okay, the shit fit. The shit really fit.
There you go. Now, obviously, I took you into this topic. I had to. I was going to.
Yep.
It's interesting as of late. We've been seeing a lot of hip hop representation over at AEW.
Facts. I love it.
Like and I can only assume it's because of Tony Khan's age.
Yeah,
You know
and
what I mean?
and I
It
think
makes
that of
sense.
the talent too. Like I think like
Hmm.
a lot of the guys are. I mean, I know a lot of them are friends with a lot of
Yeah,
these artists
yeah.
and just socialize with them in general and yeah, and it's smart. And I don't know
Oh yeah.
why WWE doesn't do it more.
Well, when I think see when I find that when WWE does it, they do it with the guy like they do it with a talent that's all like just your Snoop Dogs. You
Right,
know what I mean? Like that tier talent because they're the most recognizable. Like when you see Snoop Dogg, you think of Martha Stewart. So I mean, like
right.
you know what I mean? And
Well,
I think that's why.
it's definitely a very like I feel like they look down on like a lot of like not saying that they like hate people like West Side Gun and he shows up front row on half of the WWE shows
No
too, but
kidding.
but I but you're never ever gonna see Fly God walking someone down to the ring
Mm-mm.
like you think WWE is gonna have a guy shouting right brick on my brick like that shit'll never ever happen.
No, no, definitely not. What are you feeling most right now? Which promotion are you kind of more into right now, or have you got a healthy balance of a couple?
Well, for the longest, it's always been AEW
Hell
first.
yeah, hell yeah,
Um,
rah rah rah.
I mean NXT was cool until it got all colorful and
Yeah.
2.0 shit.
See, but
Um,
that's switching back though.
that's what I heard. That's what I
Yeah.
heard. And
So
frankly, main roster like Raw and SmackDown, that shit was like unwatchable to me.
yeah.
But now that it turns out that because Vince McMahon's like a fucking predator or some shit. But
Ah.
since the regime changed, the
Whew.
show is surprisingly watchable.
Yep.
Now it's tough now because like NFL season's back on, and unless there's like a trash Monday night football game, I'm
Hmm.
probably not going to watch Raw too often.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I'll go back and I'll catch the highlights or if
Yeah.
there's a really buzzworthy match. But AEW is kind of the only like consistent thing that I'm watching week in and week out. And same with New Japan too.
Yeah.
Like I like it, but it's just it's so hard to follow. Like 4 different promotions at once. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
like just keep it to one. When WrestleMania comes around, I'll obviously watch that. When Wrestle
Yeah.
Kingdom
Yeah.
happens in January, I'll
Exactly.
be watching that.
Those ones that are
And
like the tentpole shows. Yeah. I mean, they're just kind of a given to watch the tentpole shows.
right, and even shit like Stardom, like I'll catch some of the pay-per-views once in a while,
Hmm.
but as far as what dominates my watching periods, it's Dynamite Wednesdays, Rampage. Well, I usually catch that Saturday morning,
Hmm.
um, and then whatever pay-per-views they do.
What how do you feel AEW is doing compared
That's your
to
AEW. Shouts out to Penta.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
How do you feel AEW is doing now compared to when they started?
Very much. It's a better, tighter run show. I mean, there's certain things about the early AEW shows that were so raw, and
Very raw.
but
Yes.
I liked it. I liked it for that.
Yes. I did as well.
So now, I mean, again, the shows are generally awesome. They still have to fix that women's division.
Yeah.
I don't know why they can't seem to figure out how to get more than one match on the show.
Uh, I don't I mean the roster is pretty full.
They I mean, even last week, I'm watching the show and like, it's a
Which
great
last week
show.
was a great show,
Yeah,
but I
it's a
mean,
great show, but it's like like Penta or not Penta, Ray Phoenix and Jungle Boy
yeah,
had an awesome match, but it it didn't need to happen,
no,
you know.
no,
So
no. I didn't understand
it's
why
one
it
of
even
those
happened.
things that they gotta they just have to commit to it. They
Yeah.
just refuse to, and I feel like that's the one thing that's holding it back from being truly special.
Do you think it's just because, Tony's still a new booker and still a young company?
I think I think what it is that his roster, at least on the male side, is just full of um, so many great talents and so many great
Yeah,
talents that draw, and I think he's scared that because on most shows the women's match or whatever usually rates the or draws the lowest or the second lowest.
yeah,
I think he's scared that if he puts on too much of it, that he'll lose too much of his audience. But if you don't showcase them, they'll never be in a position to draw.
exactly.
So the chicken or the egg, that sort of argument.
And really, you just got to tell a good story.
Yeah, and too many of the stories, um, they don't have the same depth that that some of the men's stories have,
No, no, they definitely don't.
and most of them are just told in like quick 25-second backstage segments.
Yeah, yeah.
Like like it's been a while since there was a real feud or a real story in that division that you could really sink your teeth into.
Yeah, seriously. And I was even a little disappointed. They brought on Serena Deeb from what I understood to get that women's division, a little more up to par. And then they brought on Madison Rayne to do this same thing, and yet,
Well, I don't think the problem is the actual work like in the ring. Like some of the ladies there are still a little inexperienced and
oh
green,
yeah,
and that's going to happen.
yeah, of
But
course,
my issue has never been the actual wrestling. My issue has always been just the amount of care that goes into the storytelling and the fact that it feels like 9:25 p.m. every Wednesday. That's when you get that slotted women's
yeah,
match that's often doesn't mean anything, or there's no story progressing. So when the crowd doesn't react to something that they're not given any reason to react to, you can't turn around and say, "Oh, okay, well, this is why we can't do more." It's like the few instances they've made people care. We got an awesome lights out Thunder Rosa Britt Baker,
mm-hmm,
but then 2 weeks later, it's like they forgot about it.
yeah. And it's a shame because it's obvious they can tell good stories in AEW. They're
Right.
just not giving good stories to any of the women.
So
Do
I
you?
don't know. I know that Tony wants to kind of oversee all of the booking, but I don't know if the answer is to get someone to to book specifically that division because I think he we sort of just gave him the, the new promotion pass. I think after about a year and a half, now it's like okay, like it's been long enough now, and
Yeah.
the rest of the show has been so consistently good that
Hmm.
there's no excuse anymore.
And from what I recall, he expressly made a commitment to putting together a kick-ass women's division.
Those roster's incredible, but it's like it feels like I mean, there's got to be what 20, 25 of them. And for whatever reason, it feels like it's the same four that we see
Oh yeah.
on
Oh,
Wednesdays
easily.
every week. It's like the same
Easily.
four.
Yep. Easily. And there's definitely talent there that could elevate easily if they were just given the chance.
Yeah, and it sucks because like I said, the 4-way last week, like I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, Paige or Soraya is in there now.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, it's like I'm excited, but then I'm like, oh God. So
Right? It's kind of like
she's gonna get highlighted, and then we're just not going to see Ruby Soho ever again.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
Or
I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if they just got to figure out a way to, maybe turn Dynamite into a 3-hour show, which I hope they don't do.
oh no.
No, I'm not advocating it, but they got to do something, because there's a lot of people that they can just be better showcasing, and it just seems like it's the same 4 or 5 every time.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to take something from the AEW Galaxy akin to the Divas Revolution that was actually a fan-driven, movement to get more women spotlighted? Do you think it's going to take something from the AEW Galaxy like that?
It could, but ultimately, I think it comes down to, it just comes down to the ratings. If the women's segment is consistently the highest drawing thing on the show, and not just like a one-off when there's a awesome gimmick match or something. If it's a consistent thing, I think that he'll have to.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't know if people will hijack the show or run a movement like that, but if there's enough pressure, it's possible. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's hilarious how we can talk about wrestling like this. It's one of the most interesting topics that one can have, because we all know what it is.
Right.
But we are all so invested.
I don't know. Like, I grew up, and anyone who knows me or has followed me knows that I'm big into martial arts movies. And there's a parallel between that and pro wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Even production in some regards, but just the whole something about just choreographed combat. It's just always spoken to my soul ever since I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
And
the influence from martial arts is so obvious.
Right. And, but it's funny, because I mean, if you can apply pro wrestling concepts to anything else, and they fit. Like,
yeah, it's true.
Like, I remember explaining to someone, it's like, hey, Sona, I see that you're playing wherever, but your name is like the third on the card instead of headlining. What gives? I'm like, well, I'm not over enough, and I'm in the mid card, and so and
I'm stuck in the mid card.
the booker's playing favorites, and this guy just got buried the other day. I mean, you could, but I mean, if you apply that logic to like any type of literary storytelling, like hell, like you watch a TV show, and some of those same sort of ideas and concepts. Like, hey, well, like I'm watching Titan, the DC Titans show. And well, Deathstroke, he like that's put Dick Grayson over him, but he had to keep his heat and stay over. So they had to beat him 2-on-1 to do it, which protects the baby face.
Exactly.
But if you really think about it like that, and it'll apply to any movie, any TV show. So sometimes when people are like, "Oh, so why do you still watch wrestling? It's obviously fake." I'm like, well, yeah, but everything on TV is fake.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the larger issue that I mean, if you're not like a crazy fan or anything, you're not going to think of it too much. But I think those of us that are as into it as we are, we know it's because it all comes down to the like timeless, timeless old good versus
Good versus
evil.
evil. That's that's pro wrestling in a
Yep,
nutshell. It's just a
exactly.
very simple story of just good versus evil, and I don't know, just the athleticism and the live nature of it. Um, I mean, I went to Dynamite in Rochester like
I was just
like
about to
two
ask you
months
about
ago,
it. I was just about to
um,
ask about it.
and that's the first time I've ever seen pro wrestling live, and
Oh, for real? Oh, damn!
first
What a
time.
great way to get. That's a great way to catch it live first time.
The funny thing was that because Raw was in Toronto like
Yep.
early to mid August, and I was thinking of going to that show. Like, oh, shit, it's close. You know, I can drive up, drive
Mm-hmm.
home the same day. But I was like, nah. I mean, because at the time, you know, Vince is still in charge. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go. I'm just gonna go there. I'm gonna
No.
end up being annoyed. And
Yeah.
then, you know, Cody had just gotten hurt, so I
Yeah,
was
he
like,
won't even
nah,
be there. Nah, nah, not
fuck
until
it,
he comes
I'll
back.
pass. And then, literally over the course of 2 weeks, it's like, wow, this was actually a show worth going to now.
Hmm.
But Dynamite's pulling up in like 2 weeks, in Toronto, and
Yes.
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there.
I'm saying, where's it playing in Toronto?
It's at the Coca-Cola Coliseum.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
They're being safe with the venue size, and I understand that.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to Dynamite. They're filming Rampage on the Thursday,
Hmm.
and I haven't decided if I want to go to that. Because I mean, some of them scalper ticket prices are just madness.
Yeah.
Um, I'm thinking about it though. I guess I've got like, oh, I guess I've got like 2 weeks to decide.
I'm mad jelly. Like I know Winnipeg is definitely going. Like they're definitely going to stop in Winnipeg at some point. It
They
may
should.
not necessarily be. It may not necessarily be in 2023. Maybe late 2023. Maybe early 2024.
Well, they
But from
have
where,
to
but from what?
With
Well,
Kenny
yeah,
and Chris
and
Jericho. They have
Chris.
to.
Well, that's the thing. I remember reading something that there was a story about the Canadian market, and they mentioned that for sure Winnipeg, Toronto, and Vancouver are like definites. The three markets they are definitely going to hit. It
Yeah,
just Toronto is obviously going to be the first market hit, like without it.
Toronto,
That'll always
Montreal,
be the first.
Vancouver,
Yeah,
Winnipeg. It has to.
yeah. And there's no way they're not coming to Winnipeg. Sorry, it's just there's no way they're not
They
because it
have
will
to.
fucking sell out like a
Yeah,
motherfucker.
yeah. Just between Kenny, Chris
And Chris,
Jericho,
oh fuck
and
yeah,
Don Callis. Yeah,
yep,
they have to.
yep.
That'll be such a fun show.
You know what's funny? The day that Kenny flew out, like he had already moved all his shit
Mhm.
to Florida,
Right.
and it was literally like everything was already gone on his like final flight out to Florida. He stopped into my restaurant to have breakfast, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I go to my chef, who's also a wrestling fan. I'm like, "Dog, yo, the cleaner just fucking walked in, dog." He's like, "No." I'm like, "No, man, you don't understand." And then my other homie, also working back a house, I'm like, "Brando, man, Kenny Omega's up in this motherfucker, dog." He's like,
Let's
"No."
go.
So he came out. He's like, "Yo, illegit is him." I'm like, "Hey, man, how's it going? You know what? Whatever you want is on the house." I
He's all
fed
that.
that motherfucker like, and he's like, "No, really, you don't have to do this." Like, honestly, this is my pleasure. Okay, this is my pleasure. Everything is on the house. He was super cool, and we didn't, we weren't all up in his grill or anything. Very respectful. Just wanted to say, big up,
Mm,
just for everything. Let him
great.
go, and then he was nice enough to take a picture with us, and we were like, awesome, respect. Look forward to seeing everything you do. Peace.
Yeah, I'm open because now that they've like Japan is finally opening back up, and
Yeah.
I really, and I don't well, it might be a little too late at this point, but because there's rumors, there's rumblings that you know, next Wrestle Kingdom that they might get some of the AEW guys on
So
for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So if they can figure out a way to
Ooh.
to
Ooh.
run that Kenny Omega Will Ospreay
Oh
run
my God.
at
Oh my
Tokyo
God.
Dome, like okay, I know it's expensive to fly to Tokyo, but uh,
You know what's messed up? Pre-pandemic, me and the two homies that I just told you about, they were trying to convince me to like, let's fly to Tokyo and, catch a fucking New Japan show. And I'm like, yeah, maybe we should. And then the
well, I
pandemic hit and it was like, okay, whatever.
while I May of 2020, I had a flight booked, hotels booked, trip booked. I was going to go to Japan
Oh my
to go
God.
on. I mean, I was like I had a gig in Tokyo and I had one in I want to say Osaka.
Okay.
Okay, but I had a couple gigs and
Mm.
a third one I was trying to uh, to, to 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 confirm, but I was also trying to build it around. Okay, if I'm out here, I got to
Oh
figure out
yeah.
I got to figure out a way to see some New Japan or some Stardom or some Noah or
Yes.
some All
Yes.
Japan show. And I don't even
Yes.
follow those promotions that closely like that, but I was trying to figure out a way to see something out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And well, obviously that was meant to be, but maybe next year, maybe
There
next
you
year.
go, man. There's
See what
always
I can do.
exactly. There's always more opportunities to make it happen.
That's yeah. That I guess that's the lesson of the day.
Well, yo, man, I want to thank you again for spending some time in the lounge space. The new record is dope as fuck.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I wanted you to break down how this record came about because, like you said it, you listen to this record and you don't feel all the emotion that led to its creation
Yeah,
because the upliftment that you reference is so right there, man.
yeah. It's it was a big sort of I went back and forth, and all records are like that. It sounds amazing one day, it sounds mid the next, it sounds like
Yep.
garbage the day after,
Yep.
and
Yep.
really nothing would have changed.
Yeah.
And but you always get to that point where it's like, and I tell like younger artists this all the time. Um, you can't make the perfect record. It's impossible, at least perfect to you,
Exactly.
because eventually you get to that point, and I'm actually trying to convince a friend of this, and I'm just like, you know, you've been working on this record for like 8 months or
Hmm.
however long it's been, you know, regardless of when you finish it, you're inevitably going to come across something that
Yep.
drives you crazy. That I should have
Facts.
done this, I should have done
Yep.
that, and it's going to happen no
Yeah.
matter how long you spend with it. So
Yep.
you might as well just you get to the point where you just have to live with the results.
Yep.
You know,
Set it free.
yeah, you set it free,
Yep.
and the ironic thing, and all producers and artists will know what I'm talking about, is just um the things that you really obsess over and that are driving you crazy, and it's like you just don't want to turn it in because the snare is 4 hertz too loud,
Yeah.
or this is 2 decibels too deep, or the EQ is like the things that you obsess over are things that exist in your head only,
Exactly.
and nobody else gives a shit.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
people are listening to that record on a compressed 128 kilobyte per second bitrate MP3.
Yep.
The magic of what I'm trying to create is lost on most people anyway. So to obsess over, you live with the results,
Exactly.
good or bad,
Yep.
and then you then regret some things you did. Okay, well, you remember that for the next record.
And you know what? You know how you can look at it. How you can. You're a parent, and you have to let your children go, but
Mhm.
always remember the children coming back.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
And again, and and it's weird when you're just killing yourself over something, and someone says something really nice about that record, and you're just looking at them like, really? Like,
But did you
don't you
hear the?
don't you hear don't you hear that
Yes.
the stereo separation on this
Yep.
joint is a little off? Like, no. Oh, okay. Well,
Exactly.
cool. I spent 3 weeks on like working on that thing in
Yep.
particular, but
Yep.
it's gonna happen no matter what.
Facts. Facts upon facts, man. So when are we looking at a new project?
Probably. Um, it's hard to say. Um, I've got a secret project that I finished
Okay.
like last February.
Okay.
Um, that
I like what
um,
I'm hearing already.
well,
Secret projects.
that would have been out probably by now or close to right now, but we ran into some sample clearance issues,
Mm. Okay.
and it's up in the air. It didn't sound particularly that optimistic when I asked about it last.
Mm.
So who knows if it comes out? But that sort of took a little bit of the battery out of my back. Um, so who knows? Maybe I'll be surprised and it comes out soon, but I'm not anticipating that.
Well, you
But
know what?
otherwise,
It you know what? To be honest, like this record has long legs, man.
right. I mean,
It's got long legs on it.
my whole plan this year was to kind of just, all right, I'm gonna do like 4 releases. I did a bedtime stories 3 EP. I've got
Yeah.
the long drives to nowhere. I've got the secret album. There's some other things. And when I grew up, artists put records out, and you didn't hear from them, at least as far as a new record, for like
Yep.
4 years.
Yep. Facts.
And we're sort of just in this stream Spotify era where they're
Yep.
paying artists pennies to begin with,
Yep.
and so now you're sort of encouraged to just keep putting music out all the time, and it's and some guys are good like that, so like salute to them, but I'm sort of at that point in my life where it's like I feel like I've done too many similar sounding records, or I've I've told all my stories, you
Right.
know. So I want to sit down and actually have a story to tell, or just
There you
a
go.
new approach to something.
There you
Because
go.
I don't want to make music just to make music. I want to make music that's symbolic and important and means something to me,
Exactly.
even if it's just a beat tape to somebody else.
Exactly.
Like I the way that I approach music versus the way a listener hears it is very different. So sure, I could get on my computer and make 6 beats tonight and put them out tomorrow, it that's not what inspires or motivates me.
No, man, you gotta stay true to your artistry and you gotta stay true to creativity.
Right. So with that said, I mean, I haven't made a song since like February.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this is like the longest break I've gone on, and it's not like a beat block or a writer's block or any type of a creator's block. Wanted to I just wanted to take time off to like live,
Oh,
because
word.
throughout the pandemic I've done very, very little of it.
Yeah,
I want to live and experience
definitely.
things and sort of
Yes,
get that joy to create again.
exactly.
And I think I'm there. So hopefully, I can crank something out towards the end of the year. We will see. But and then there's some other non eloquent related things that I'm sort of dabbling in right now.
Okay,
That's been
okay.
keeping me busy, but Yeah, I mean, folks will hear more once once it's out of the oven.
And it's like that. Yo, man, once again, salute. Thank you very much for spending time with us.
Thank you for having me, man.
Oh, man, like I said, open book, open door all day, man.
Yeah, we'll do it again sometime for sure.
All right, Beezy Dog. Have fun at fucking Dynamite, man.
I'm gonna have a good time. I'll DM you. I'll let you know.
Hell yes, man. Hell yes. All right, Beezy Dog.
Peace.
Peace.